Hello again, it's Sam Gregory, and I've got one more image I wanted to look at from France, actually, which was shot at night. And so I'm going to just talk about maybe why the image works for me, and also perhaps when you're printing things, why you might end up with a different version for print and a different version for screen. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the image. It is in the back streets of a very small village in France where we'll be visiting on the tour, and there's some beautiful scenes that you can get to because at night it's very quiet, there's nobody around, especially at the time of year we'll be there, and there's these beautiful street lamps as well. So it's then a case of finding compositional order in the scene, and so what I've tried to do here is just use the steps as a route into the scene. And obviously there's two things I really like about this. One, the fact that washing was still hanging out was quite nice. It just, makes it a bit more natural. And two, this light that's just catching the handrail here as well is really nice. It just makes that side of the image have some texture, some modeling, some 3D, shall we say, other than it just being totally flat like it is here on the right hand side. So sometimes that contrast between light and dark gives the impression a little bit of depth. Now, the reason I picked this image just to talk about is this is what I would call the screen version, and it's processed in a way, and by the way I didn't do much at all, but it's processed to work nicely on a screen which is backlit. Now, when you come to print these things, and this isn't always the case, but it's sometimes the case with black and white darker images like this, is I had to put quite a bit more detail back into the shadows and in the black. So when I say that, what I've done is I've actually pushed a lot of light into the shadow and into the blacks. Now, I would never normally do that on any images, to be honest. Usually it means something's gone wrong beforehand. But when you print something that's actually quite dark, if we look in the histogram here, so much of the weight of it here is on this left hand side, and there are clipped bits which I don't personally mind on this particular image. But when you print it, it will feel darker even than it does on the screen. And yes, my screen is profiled. Yes, I have all the correct print profiles as well. It's not really about that. It's just about the weight of that darkness in a physical print feels too dark. So if you are printing black and white, assuming everything else is equal, for example, your screen is profiled and everything else, don't be too worried if you do have to push a bit more into the shadows and into the blacks to get a print physically that doesn't feel quite as heavy. There is just a little bit of breakdown. I like to use my arrows, as you will have seen on some of the other videos. Obviously here we're sort of pushing people towards that central point and using the steps as a route into the scene. Okay, so that's it on this particular image. I will be back. If you have any questions about what I've said there about the printing or anything else you'd like to know, just pop it in the comments box and I will be sure to reply.